Let's take a minute now, check your breath, check your energy. So we'll do that for the next minute from now. And if you like, and when you're ready, slowly just coming back into the space, letting go, finding your steady place again, maybe noticing the weight that you can put on each foot to feel the earth under you, your spine lengthening, and just any movement you might need. And I'm aware that we have gone into the parasympathetic level of workshop time now, which is digestion. Okay, so I'm noticing that as well. And what I'm going to do now is we're going to just recap on, we've worked on bringing the unconscious into consciousness. We've noticed that in our clients. We've stepped through history, we've brought science in there, and also the conflict between mind and body. We've also now been able to look at that with our clients, what they are carrying, and then very much framing this in the window of tolerance. So energy up, energy down, and energy actually means work. So it's energy, movement, or lack of movement coming into that, and what we've noticed in our clients, and what we may need to do to share to ground our clients. Was there anything in particular, that any tools that anyone found useful in that group session for grounding, or that anyone heard that was useful? And please feel welcome to put it in the chat if that feels more comfortable for you. Is there anything? What I would like to do now is we're going to segue into the polyvagal theory. And again, this is a really short workshop, and I would go into this in more detail in a different space. And I'm sending you lots of information about this. So just to let your dinner digest a little bit more, I'm going to show a short video. It's about 7 minutes, and it's of Stephen Porges. And Stephen Porges is the gentleman who sort of coined and is the polyvagal guy. And I've got to be honest, teaching our clients about this for me is the most important thing for mental health now, at least for the next, I'd say, 10 years. Very powerful to share this with our clients.
Now, whenever I'm asked the question, what is the polyvagal theory? My eyes open up and my eyes roll back because I first ask, how much time do we have? Yeah. And then I creatively will try to summarize it in a few sentences. Mm-hmm. The polyvagal theory really is the understanding of how our body reacts to various challenges, and that our reactions are really based on the evolution of our autonomic nervous system. And what that really means is that our evolutionary history as vertebrates, during that history, the autonomic nervous system changed. And as it changed, it created different circuits. And those circuits function in a hierarchy, meaning the newer circuits can inhibit older circuits. But the older circuits were circuits of defense. So in terms of models of psychotherapy or psychosomatic medicine, what we start understanding is that most diseases, including chronic diseases of physical health, are really diseases of the autonomic nervous system. And the autonomic nervous system changes with mental health as well. So what we find with polyvagal theory is that our reactions to the world follow this evolutionary pattern in which the newest circuit is a circuit of social interaction, mm-hmm. which is linked to a uniquely mammalian vagal pathway, which is a nerve going from the brainstem to the heart. And this nerve is linked in the brainstem to the muscles, the nerves that regulate the muscles of the face and head. So when you invited me to talk at a conference that was called When Talking Is Not Enough, it was really, to me, an opportunity to talk about the polyvagal theory and the social engagement system, which really is the neuroregulation of the muscles of vocalization, the muscles of listening, the muscles of facial expressivity, and of gesture, like we're doing right now, gesturing to each other. And these are linked to the nerve regulating the heart. So it becomes a co-regulatory, interactive regulation of autonomic state that enables our bodies now to be in states that support health, growth, and restoration. And when that system doesn't work, then we start seeing the behaviors and the symptoms associated with mental health issues, which will be mobilized behavior, rage, tantrums, anxiety. But what polyvagal theory really got its name for really was that when you study the evolution of the autonomic nervous system, you identify another defensive system, which is shutting down, which is passing out, which in mental health is often dissociative states. So this physiological immobilization with fear was not really acknowledged within psychiatry or psychology. They try to fit everything into a fight, flight, stress. And when you study trauma, that wasn't the issue. So that's it in a...
From my understanding, and also in our work as a psychotherapist, for example, I find it always very useful also to use your theory to explain it to the people that they understand their different reactions. Because many people, for example, when they go in an immobilization state, it's so uncomfortable, also threatening, that they usually discount themselves very much. And in explaining to them that it is, in a sense, evolutionary competence, so to speak.
It's competence.
Yeah, really, it's a competence. It's very relieving to the people.
Yeah, I've watched this also as people learn about what their body does to protect them. Their personal narrative shifts from that of victim to one of survivor. That this was a very positive thing that they did. And it's really quite amazing because we are so oriented as Western world psychologists and psychiatrists to think of behavior as voluntary, in having intention, and being learned. But polyvagal theory tells us that there are a lot of responses that are functionally reflexive. They're implicit, they're within the body. And when our body reacts, then we start building these very complex explanations, which may have nothing to do with what our body did.
As if like a hypothesis on the cortex level tries to explain what is understandable in a very different way when you look with your theory.
And it takes, because when people try to explain it, they say, why didn't I fight when I was held down? Or why did I just let the person abuse me? And the answer is, it wasn't a voluntary choice. Their body made this type of decision outside the realm of consciousness or awareness. This process I call Neurosception because it's not awareness, it's not perception, it's a very rapid, implicit bodily reaction. And all we need to do is think about the adaptive survival of this. If we were challenged and we thought about it to make a decision of whether we should fight or flee, we'd probably be dead. So it's this adaptive for the species that our body had all these responses built in.
And it's obviously context related to different contexts. Fight and flight is helpful for certain contexts, but the immobilization for other contexts.
Exactly. And the situation is sometimes we don't know how our body will react. And the other part is our own history. Our own experiences as a child or as a younger adult or in workplace or in any other type of structure can influence. We can literally have learning through association that is also out of the realm of awareness. So when I had a dialogue with one of my colleagues who had a trauma history and my voice went to a lower frequency, she would go like this because my voice overlapped in her memories of her father's voice.
Okay, and then it's something is triggered then in a sense, and maybe the conscious mind still thinks what is going on here, and it's a silly reaction, but it's an appropriate reaction to another context.
Exactly, and what I use the term, the beauty of the system is the system reacts, and we feel the bodily response, but we don't know always what it reacted to. And so when in therapy, what you're doing is allowing the person to appreciate the defensive, adaptive behavior of their body before they make an excuse or justify or a personal narrative. So this woman had the insight not to take the cue in her body to get angry at me, but to take the cue in her body to say, it's what is reminding me of my father because I'm feeling this body response. So the important part of neuroception is that we are usually not aware of the cues, but we are usually always aware of our bodily responses. And within therapy, we use terms like being hijacked by our limbic system or being hijacked. But what we're being hijacked by is the cues of our bodily reactions are triggering in our higher brain that we need to do something.
And this was very helpful, therefore I'm very grateful to you developing the theory, because since I worked with, with the relation to your work, I understood to bring to the people, for example, even if they don't know what's going on here, that they give a different frame to it. So as a, let's say, so I feel something like I tend to be immobilized. I don't know yet what's a signal for, but certainly it's a clever signal, it's a competent signal, and then we have to recontextualize it, so to speak.
And when we recontextualize, we respect it.
Exactly.
And part of the effect of being traumatized is the disrespect for the body. And I actually use a term is that people feel that their nervous system failed them. They were unable to mobilize and fight, and they're angry at themselves. And what they have to be is appreciative, love what their body did. And we're all pointing below the diaphragm, you notice that, because the organs below the diaphragm are part of this immobilization response. So our neuroregulation of organs below the diaphragm is different than the neuroregulation above. Our fight-flight system is up here. Our shutdown system is down here. And now, when we look at the symptoms of people who have had shutdown experiences, irritable bowel, digestive problems, we see all these issues here. And that's because the neural regulation below the diaphragm has been recruited for defense and not for homeostasis.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. I always think it's better to have the actual person alive, a bit like we just met Gestalt. He was actually dead, but we you know, it's good to have his spirit in the room. It's best to meet the real people and understand their energy. And very much, so I hope that was useful. I've sent you that video. I share that with some of my clients. Recently, I have a client who was raped, and, you know, many years ago, and we're doing this work, and her anger with herself, and that she didn't do enough, that it was her fault in the work, and it's long work, it's complicated work. This has been useful. So I will leave that with you. I'll also send you the video. So I'm going to segue now into where we can use this positively. Yes, everyone wants to know about polyvagal theory. We want to learn and be on our head. However, we can make, everyone's talking about trauma. Great. I need to get to why we do our jobs. It's because people get well, people heal, and people need tools, and we're in a position to share tools with people that people can have in their toolbox and have a better day, right? They may completely disregard it one day, but it's knowing, you know, I feel shit today, or I'm really right, okay, I'm going to do this. Okay, so it's not about the books. So we've got the books on trauma, and I say to people, this is a great book, right? Books on trauma and the body. Pat Ogden, brilliant, great. Bezel's book, I've got them all here. Go to the last 2 chapters or 3 chapters of these books, the bit that people don't get to. This is about healing, techniques for healing. So using the polyvagal theory, using the breath for healing. Here's the split between mind and body. I can take a bag of tablets, or I can do something else. And that's on a spectrum as well. So it's about sharing these tools where appropriate with our clients, with our students. So the polyvagal theory is based on the social engagement system. Think about COVID. Our social engagement system's gone. I've got clients who they think they're developing dementia and they're young because they haven't been being with people. The social engagement system's gone. So the positive side, and I'm sending you information on this, and it's a far bigger subject that I do other workshops on. Social engagement, so it's the voice, the back of the throat, shouting for help. So Stephen Porges talks about when something happens, we've got 3 states. Number 1, my life is in danger, I'm going to shout for help. Okay, if that doesn't work, fight flight kicks in, the amygdala. I'm going to go and fight the dinosaur or run like hell from the dinosaur. Or the 3rd state is that frozen, but then there's no voice, there's no noise. So in terms of healing, we have to move. We have to engage this back of the throat area to have choice. Okay, so I'm going to segue straight into the good stuff, the back chapter here. So I had a client who I thought, oh my gosh, a long-term trauma client, how do I begin to work with the polyvagal theory? How does that come into me in the room? And this day, my client walked in and said to me, what's the polyvagal theory? I've read an article in the Daily Mail. I want to start doing some of this stuff. It's when those things happen, the synchronicity of that. She whips out the Daily Mail, and this is what the Daily Mail said, right? I didn't think I'd ever say that, but thank goodness that they printed this, the Daily Mail. So, and again, we don't need yogic names for things. We don't need to be sitting up under the mystic mountain with sitting on a pile of crystals. We can just start doing it. So it's demystifying it. So let's do this together. I want us to, let's just unmute, and we're going to do a humming breath. So just think of a bee. We're just going to I'm just going to continue with the breath. I'm going to do it for 1 minute, making a humming noise. Just letting that go and just notice, just be silent and notice. Just notice the vibration and where that vibration is. You may want to bring your hand to where that vibration, where you feel that. Okay, humming breath. You've just activated your vagus nerve. Okay, elevating the tone of your vagus nerve. Ujjayi breathing, a yoga breath. We don't have to call it a yoga breath. This is about, I call it, it's like a Darth Vader breath. So I'd encourage anyone who knows this breath to maybe unmute and help me out with this. I don't think I've done a group Ujjayi before. So it's just a inhale, just gently breathing in, tighten the back of the throat. I'll try this to the mic. Exhale through the nose again. Slow exhalation. So just try this a few times. Usually it's difficult to get a hold of if you haven't done it before. You may inhale for 4, slower exhalation. Stimulating the vocal cords. Just letting that go. Singing. I have clients who I have been absolutely shocked that they are singing in the shower, putting songs on that they used to love when they were little. Actually, some of them having singing lessons, which I literally, again, nearly fell off my seat. I couldn't believe these specific clients were having singing lessons. Choice, singing, vocalization. Rah! So we're not going to do any chanting here, but talking, just talking. Think of with COVID, the chat, how we sync up, talking, laughing, washing your hands with icy water, splashing your face. if you please look into this, Google it. I'm sending you more information. It's about the positive side of the vagus nerve. Giving this to our clients, educating our clients and students, then they're going to go and look into it and tell their friends about it. Okay. And also a loving kindness meditation. So I'm going to ask you all to join me now, just making yourself as comfortable as you can. Maybe putting some rolls in the shoulders, being comfortable, and just noticing your breath, and eyes open or closed. You choose, you decide. You may want to have the camera on, camera off, or look away.
Lorna, do you want
Yep.
to open the screen again?
Yep, super. Yeah, got it. Thank you, Zena. So making yourself comfortable, just noticing your breath, becoming still. Becoming still. And gently, just I'm going to say a line, and I'm going to invite you then to repeat that internally to yourself. May I be happy and live with a joyful heart. May I be healthy and have a body that gives me energy. May I be safe and protected from harm. May I live with the ease that comes from well-being. And I'd like you to invite someone in your mind's eye who you love, who comes to mind, and offer this to them. So may they be happy and live with a joyful heart. May they be healthy and have a body that gives them energy. May they be safe and protected from harm. And may they live with the ease that comes from well-being. And now I'd like you to bring someone in who maybe you have conflict with, or someone who you don't like or may have upset you. And we're going to offer this. You choose if you want it to be this person. And may they be happy and live with a joyful heart. May they be healthy and have a body that gives them energy. May they be safe and protected from harm. And may they live with the ease that comes from well-being. And I'm going to invite you now to bring this back to yourself. May I be happy and live with a joyful heart. May I be healthy and have a body that gives me energy. May I be safe and protected from harm. May I live with the ease that comes from well-being. And if you like, and when you're ready, just gently letting that go and taking a breath and coming back into the space. Okay, so tools to share with clients, tools to use for ourselves that are going to vibrate our vagus nerve. So thank you for taking part in those. So taking a breath, feeling grounded, coming back into your steady place. And now we've got about 20 minutes and we're going to touch on the two bodies in the room. So I'm going to mention the word energy here. Again, back to talking about energy. Energy up, energy down. Window of tolerance up, window of tolerance down. So we now have much research that confirms. Well, I just want to check, is everything okay, Zena? Just I heard a little rustle on audio, that there is this exchange of energy between people. So in terms of therapy, I'm going to ask you now what you notice, so that back to nonverbal phenomena between you as a teacher or a therapist in your own body, what you may be noticing. So Susie Orbach, who was Lady Diana, psychotherapist. I don't know if she's appeared in a series of The Crown yet. I don't watch The Crown, but everyone's talking about Lady Diana. That Susie Orbach talks about a wildcat sensation in her own body. So just notice who comes to mind for you with clients or in a class or patients. Okay, so a wildcat countertransference. So that's when talking about what a patient evoked in her. So it's an unfamiliar bodily experience. So the work of Stephen Shaw has been quite phenomenal for me in this, and really eye-opening for me. because this wasn't in my training, this energy exchange, the countertransference. So transference is where the client is looking at you, or if you're teaching a class and you remind them of their sister or their mother or their father or their brother or the teacher who they used to hate. Yeah, so that's the countertransference is you sitting back and noticing in your own body. Okay, so these are some really useful things that Stephen Shaw talked about that we may feel as therapists. So with a bulimic client, I'm hungry when they leave. I've found that more with anorexic clients. After seeing a chaotic client, my notes were chaotic. So for me, I have a couple of clients who it's very chaotic, very borderline, and I forget where my car is. I can't remember where I parked my car. We might feel sick. Sweaty palms. You might feel the tension in the neck that is quite an unfamiliar feeling to you, and it's noticing that. What's the gut reaction? Maybe pregnancy feelings, not being able to breathe. I had a client once and I couldn't breathe in the room, and this is the only time I've had to do it. I had to stand up and open the window and then to share that with the client the next week. And that was a real turning point in what was going on for her, that she couldn't breathe and had to change something. Musculoskeletal pain, often a bodily reaction to abused clients, a revulsion and a closing off to clients. So actually just think about the client who you secretly hope doesn't turn up, or a student who you may be thinking, I don't want them to really show up today, feeling hot or cold in your body. So again, this is the noticing of what is yours and what isn't yours in the room. So Stephen Shaw, and again, this is for all of us here today, he did some great research on this, how it's impacting us, our nervous system going up and down like this, okay? So they felt that if they didn't, therapists and people working in mental health felt that if they didn't look after themselves physically, they would become ill from their work. Many of them referred to colleagues who had become very ill and stopped practicing through ill health and burnout. So clearly this is an important issue for therapists and people working in mental health to consider. So as one therapist said, that's a really costly way of making a living, to allow myself to be so impacted by somebody, to allow myself to know somebody to that degree and therefore know myself to that degree. I mean, there's wonderful rewards as well, but there's a real cost. So I just want you maybe just to take a moment to reflect on that. And yeah, maybe what in therapy has felt like yours, hasn't felt like yours. Very much Pat Ogden talks about that the clients do not exist in a vacuum. And it's important to acknowledge that there's always a grain of truth in what you are feeling. For me, it can be as if we're sitting in a room with a heavy smoker when we're working with trauma. And I didn't know this. I didn't know that I couldn't do this job 5 days a week, 9 to 5. I didn't know until I've experienced it myself. When I work with death and trauma, it manifests in my body. Really, it manifests in I'd say from my mid-spine upwards. And think about with our clients where we're pulled in and arched. Really manifest. And then where does that go in our body? Just notice, who do you carry at a weekend? Who are in your thoughts? Who do you take home with you? And even more difficult when we're working online, when we're in our homes as yoga teachers, where's the boundary there? Okay, and I'd also like to bring in here, again, it's a huge subject that Gerda Boysden talks about, is that the brain is in our bowels. So that's this bowels, the second brain is in our bowels. So again, just as Stephen Porges was talking about earlier, below the belly. Think of the work with our clients with IBS, what's going on in the organs below the belly. And what are we noticing in ourselves? Very powerful. So we've got we're just going to jump into a group here. And if you also, just want to say, if your energy's feeling low and you'd rather not go into a group, it's completely fine not to do that, and maybe just take the time to reflect. And we're going to take about 8 minutes here just to jump in a group. And I'd like you just to, if it feels appropriate, what have you noticed that wasn't yours? What have you maybe carried? I actually had my first ever client came in with a limp, and she hated therapy. She went, "This is all a load of rubbish." She was my nemesis. I've just come to do it. I'd rather take the tablets. Well, you know, we worked together for 20 sessions, but she had this limp, and my supervisor was a Gestalt therapist at the time, and I joked that, "Oh God, I've got the client's limp." I didn't know. It wasn't in my training. This was not in my training. And then it was brought into my awareness that I was so powerfully connecting with my client. I had the client's limp for about 5